So we've got to do more both to stabilize our finances over the medium and long term. But also spur more growth in the short term. I've said I'm open to making modest adjustments to programs like Medicare to protect them for future generations. I've also said that we need more revenue through tax reform by closing loopholes in our tax code for the wealthiest Americans. If we combine a balanced package of savings from spending on healthcare and revenues from closing loopholes, we can solve the deficit issue without sacrificing our investments in things like education that are going to help us grow. It turns out the American people agree with me. They listened to an entire year's debate over this issue. And they made a clear decision about the approach they prefer. They don't think it's fair, for example, to ask a senior to pay more for his or her health care. Or a scientist to shut down life-saving research so that a multimillionaire investor can pay less in tax rates than a secretary. They don't think it's smart to protect endless corporate loopholes and tax breaks. For the wealthiest Americans rather than rebuild our roads and our schools. Invest in our workers' skills, or help manufacturers bring jobs back to America. So they want us to get our books in order in a balanced way. Where everybody pulls their weight, everyone does their part. That's what I want as well. That's what I proposed. And we can get it done, but we're going to have to make sure that people are looking at this in a responsible way rather than just through the lens of politics. Now, the other congressionally imposed deadline coming up is the so-called debt ceiling, something most Americans hadn't even heard of before 2 years ago. I want to be clear about this. The debt ceiling is not a question of authorizing more spending. Raising the debt ceiling does not authorize more spending. It simply allows the country to pay for spending that Congress has already committed to. These are bills that have already been racked up and we need to pay them. So while I'm willing to compromise and find common ground over how to reduce our deficits, America cannot afford another debate with this Congress about whether or not they should pay the bills they've already racked up. If congressional Republicans refuse to pay America's bills on time, Social Security checks and veterans benefits will be delayed. We might not be able to pay our troops, or honor our contracts with small business owners. Food inspectors, air traffic controllers, specialists who track down loose nuclear material wouldn't get their paychecks. Investors around the world will ask if the United States of America is in fact, a safe bet. Markets could go haywire. Interest rates would spike for anybody who borrows money, every homeowner with a mortgage. Every student with a college loan, every small business owner who wants to grow and hire. It would be a self-inflicted wound on the economy. It would slow down our growth, might tip us into recession, and ironically, would probably increase our deficit. So to even entertain the idea of this happening, of the United States of America not paying its bills is irresponsible. It's absurd. As the speaker said 2 years ago, it would be, and I'm quoting Speaker Boehner now, a financial disaster. Not only for us, but for the worldwide economy. So we've got to pay our bills. And Republicans in Congress have two choices here: they can act responsibly. And pay America's bills, or they can act irresponsibly, and put America through another economic crisis. But they will not collect a ransom in exchange for not crashing the American economy. The financial well-being of the American people is not leverage to be used. The full faith and credit of the United States of America is not a bargaining chip. And they better choose quickly, because time is running short. The last time Republicans in Congress even flirted with this idea. Our AAA credit rating was downgraded for the first time in our history. Our businesses created the fewest jobs of any month in nearly the past 3 years. And, ironically, the whole fiasco actually added to the deficit. So it shouldn't be surprising, given all this talk, that the American people think Washington is hurting, rather than helping, the country at the moment. They see their representatives consumed with partisan brinksmanship over paying our bills. While they overwhelmingly want us to focus on growing the economy and creating more jobs. So let's finish this debate. Let's give our businesses and the world the certainty that our economy and our reputation are still second. To none. We pay our bills. We handle our business. And then we can move on because America has a lot to do. We've got to create more jobs. We've got to boost the wages of those who have work. We've got to reach for energy independence. We've got to reform our immigration system. We've got to give our children the best education possible. And we've got to do everything we can to protect them from the horrors of gun violence. And let me say I'm grateful to Vice President Biden for his work on this issue. Of gun violence and for his proposals, which I'm going to be reviewing today. And I will address in the next few days and I intend to vigorously pursue. So, with that, I'm going to take some questions. And I'm going to start with Julie Pace of AP. And I want to congratulate Julie for this new, important job. Question, thank you very much. President Obama, yes. Question. President Obama, well, as I said, the Vice President and a number of members of my cabinet went through a very thorough process over the last month, meeting with a lot of stakeholders in this including the NRA. Listened to proposals from all quarters, and they presented me now with a list of sensible common sense steps that can be taken to make sure that the kinds of violence we saw at Newtown doesn't happen again. I'm going to be meeting with the Vice President today. I expect to have a fuller presentation later in the week too. Give people some specifics about what I think we need to do. My starting point is not to worry about the politics. My starting point is to focus on what makes sense, what works, what should we be doing to make sure that. Our children are safe and that we're reducing the incidence of gun violence. And I think we can do that in a sensible way that comports with the Second Amendment. And then members of Congress I think are going to have a debate and examine their own conscience because of. In fact, and I believe this is true, everybody across party lines was as deeply moved and saddened as I was by what happened in Newtown. Then we're going to have to vote based on what we think is best. We're going to have to come up with answers that set politics aside. And that's what I expect Congress to do. But what you can count is that the things that I've said in the past, the belief that we have to have stronger background checks, that we can do a much better job in terms of keeping these magazine clips with high capacity out of the hands of folks who shouldn't have them. An assault weapons ban that is meaningful, that those are things I continue to believe make sense. Will all of them get through this Congress? I don't know. But what's uppermost in my mind is making sure that I'm honest with the American people and with members of Congress about what I think will work, what I think is something that will make a difference. And to repeat what I've said earlier, if there is a step we can take that will save even one child from what happened in Newtown, we should take that step. Question: Can a package be discussed to allow an assault weapons ban? President Obama, I'll present the details later in the week. Chuck Todd, NBC. Question, thank you, sir. As you know, the Senate Democrats, Harry Reid sent you a letter begging you. Essentially, to consider some sort of executive action on this debt ceiling issue. I know you've said you're not negotiating on it. Your administration has ruled out the various ideas that have been out there, the 14th Amendment. But just this morning, one of the House Democratic leaders, Jim Clyburn, asked you to use the 14th Amendment and even said, sometimes that's what it takes. He brought up the Emancipation Proclamation as saying it took executive action when Congress wouldn't act. And he compared the debt ceiling to that. So are you considering a plan B, and if not, why not? President Obama, well, Chuck, the issue here is whether or not America pays its bills. We are not a deadbeat nation. And so there's a very simple solution to this. Congress authorizes us to pay our bills. Now, if the House and the Senate want to give me the authority so that they don't have to take these tough votes, if they want to put the responsibility on me to raise the debt ceiling, I'm happy to take it. Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, had a proposal like that last year, and I'm happy to accept it. But if they want to keep this responsibility, then they need to go ahead and get it done.